Hello everybody. In this video I will show how to set up single sign-on authorization with Zabbix, and the identity provider in this video will be Azure Active Directory. So let's start. Just before we are jumping in this project, I would like to talk about dependencies. And there are some dependencies, and one of that is HTTPS certificate and like SSL certificate. It must be a valid certificate which is coming from a legit source, and by legit I mean from the certificate authority which is recognized by the internet. And here in this lab I will set up solution for this domain name, and if I click on this nice icon and click here connection secure, certificate is valid, we can see that this certificate is coming from the Alpha SSL certificate authority. I know that this is also possible to have like a let's encrypt certificate. That will work totally fine. But what will not work is if you generate like a single sign, or if you generate like a self-signed certificate for the server, or you generate a certificate from your internal authority which is not synchronized with the world, then it will not work. So this is the very first dependency. Because we are communicating with the Azure Active Directory, the Azure must understand that your Zabbix domain comes from like I don't know, a legit source. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, okay, let's start the process. The first thing is you just authorize in the portal.azure.com. This link will be available in the video description. Here on the right side, I see like my identification. And this is actually a free account. If you want to just play around, you can accomplish that quite easily. Just assign a credit card with Microsoft Azure account, and it will be fine, and it will not like charge any money if you don't click in the wrong places. So yeah, let's start the process. Here we have a button, Azure Active Directory, click, and on the left side we have a menu, Enterprise Applications, click, and now I will create a new application, click here, and here is another button, Create Your Own Application, click. Here, input name, I will call it Zabbix 5.0, and by the way, the lab we are doing right now, it is applicable for Zabbix 5.0 LTS and up, and all the other major versions like 5.2, 5.4, 6.0, 6.2, 6.4, all of them are applicable to this tutorial, and I can really guarantee it will work, because before I even I'm making this tutorial, I did accomplish already to create this integration for the other versions, which is much newer than this one. So the bare minimum version is Zabbix 5.0. Okay, so I will name the application like this, and the bullet must be integrate any other application you don't find in the gallery. Create. Here we need to wait like 1 solid minute, I would say. And while you're waiting, I would like you to establish like a WinSCP connection to your front-end server, because we will need to plot there a certificate file. So establish a connection, and we will upload the certificate file there. Okay. Now the application is ready, and here the name of application. One thing we need to do is assign this single user to be able to use this new application. And to assign this user, we have to go here, user and groups. Like nothing is here in the list. I click add user group, and I have like here a message, groups are not available for blah, 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 because this is not a commercial account, but all it says is I cannot use some advanced functionality like groups, but I can assign a single user. So I will click here, none, and select my single user and select and assign. So now this new application with the name Zabbix 5.0 is having one user which is like able to use it. So next thing, we have the menu single sign on. I will click here, and then there is like SAML, click, and now we need to fill the fields. I will click here, edit, and identifier. This is quite almost like a random stuff. And I will just grab the URL, like my domain name. Actually, I will grab everything here and copy and publish over here, and just remove like to the very short name. And another one, reply URL and add, and this one must be like this. And now like the root of the front end, let's have a look on the SSH session. Here I have an access to the front-end server. I will show the configuration of the web server. And here, if we use a command like grep, root, and star, and enter, I have like more than 10 Zabbix frontends running in this server, and currently I'm configuring this one. In your situation, I can promise you will have like a line like this: root user share Zabbix, and you will work with this URL. But with my example, I have a different URL, so I will copy this to the clipboard and now navigate to this directory. Enter, clear the screen, and if I list files here, I have like ls grep index. We have like a index.php, and also we have index underscore single sign on PHP. And actually, I need to copy this to the clipboard. I will go to this website, and then in the root of the front end, just put this file. And there is also a trick which must be implemented. We need to put a question mark over here, and then like here, where I'm hovering, there is like assertion consumer service. So the first letters of this string, A, C, S, assertion consumer service. So that's the syntax how we will integrate. And this is it. Save the file. And next step is we need to download this certificate. Now, like it says it's saved, click, and I need to close this window with the X. And now another thing we need to configure: attributes and claims. Edit. Here we will remove everything, delete, or just to keep it minimal, just to look simple. That's the reason why I'm deleting. And then I did click the new button, and here we need to type like name and put the cursor over here and write like principal and select user.user principal name and save. That's one setting. And we need to add another claim, and that another claim will be called alias, and same story, principal user.user principal name and save. And that's it. We can close this window click, and now we have such picture. And so the certificate, this guy, this is the only one which Zabbix frontend needs to have access on the file system. So our task is to download it and upload to the web server to a very particular directory. And I want to talk about default naming system to have a simple scenario. If we use the default naming system, we will have less steps required to make it happen. And if I go to the source Zabbix, so here, like every Zabbix frontend server will have this file in the file system. This has been for the last like 10 years. Just search full file system zabbix.conf.php, and it is somewhere in the file system. And this file is having a line like this. IDP, identity provider, cert, and then conf cert idp.crt. So this is the default path where Zabbix frontend expects this certificate to be. And this is actually like inactive line, because if you set it active, it is doing the override. So it just mentions what is the default path. And what's good here, we will just to not make any mistake, we will copy exact the file name what Zabbix expects to have. So copy the file name to clipboard. Now we'll go back to here and download this file and put exactly this file name. So we like less complexity. If we respect all the default naming system, it will be much easier. Save. Okay. And the last step is to get this file to the server. So I will open the WinSCP. This is the new file I just downloaded. And in your situation, so on the right side, I have this web server. And so we will go user, share. In your situation, there will be Zabbix, conf, and certs. And I have already one file here like for other setup. So this is the path we really if I can select, like this is exactly the path you need to store the certificate. But in my situation, I have like another front end, and that is Zabbix 5034, and the path is just a little bit different, conf certs, and I will just put it here. So the certificate file is there, and because we are using the default naming system and we are placing in the default here conf certs, which is really matching the file over here. So conf certs idp.crt. So that's the reason why we we install this file in that directory. And what happens next is the actual configuration inside the Zabbix. So we have done everything which we require here in the Azure side. And now we need to copy two fields to the Zabbix, this one and this one. So the first thing I will open the configuration. So this is the 5.0 Zabbix. Let's go again like administration authentication. Here we click on SAML settings. We click the checkbox, and we have one like 3 mandatory fields. These with the star, 4 mandatory fields. And here is one thing: we are actually not copying the first field to the first field. We are actually starting with Azure AD identifier. So I will, here in the portal azure.com, I'm starting with the second field. I'm starting with the second, and I will copy this. I will click this button, copy to clipboard, click, and now open Zabbix UI and paste this value. And now this field will be actually like this, which is Zabbix in Zabbix's second field. From the Azure portal, it will be the first field. So I will go back to this portal, and this is the first field, login URL. I will click here, click, and go back to the Zabbix configuration and paste. Okay, and username attribute here, I will put alias. And here, service identity ID, I will just copy the ID, copy here like this. And why I'm grabbing this field, let's go back to the Azure portal, because I have named the application exactly like this. So actually I need to copy from here. Okay. Before I hit update here, I will just show how the authorization screen looks like. Here, like this is the index.php. If I hit refresh, like I have username, password, one line, remember passwords, and then like one sign in button. Now I will go to the configuration and update, click. And if I go back to that landing page, I will click refresh, click, and now I have a new button to log inside the portal. Right now, I will show the first error, like because we did not made the user object in Zabbix, and just because we will do multiple troubleshooting tips as well, I will open the bookmark and I will move this URL to the bookmark bar. Sorry, move this URL here. So this is my bookmark. If I see the settings, edit, it's like pointing to the index_SSO.php. So I will click this bookmark multiple times to show different scenarios. So right now we kind of made everything ready, and I will conduct the first try. Click, and I will see like incorrect username or password or account is temporarily blocked. And I did it on purpose because just to show like what happens if you forget to create the user. So right now we will go to the Azure portal and click here users and groups and open my single user. And here is the full alias name. So I actually need to do like select this full username, copy to the clipboard. Now I will go to the Zabbix user interface, open users, create new user, and put exactly this long string. Let's put some groups inside and put some random password. So this password is not used at all. So it would be better if you put here like some random long string. And permissions will be admin, super administrator, and add. Okay, so user object is there. It has never succeeded to log in. I will go back to the trial and error screen, and I will click this bookmark again. What will happen, because we just made the user a few seconds ago? Click, and voila. So it did succeed to authorize. And if we check configuration users, click, we can see this user is now online. So that's the whole benefit of this. Like if my user has been succeeded in authorizing to the Azure Active Directory right now, then we can have this nice bookmark where we can have like a single click on that bookmark. Like here we do single click, and it will always authorize in Zabbix UI without even prompting for the password. So that's like very elegant and productive. Okay, that is it almost for this video. If you find it useful, then kindly give it a thumbs up. And now the crash test. Let's break let's break the integration just to see other type of errors. Like what happens if we don't respect some constraints. And one thing, let's log out. Let's go to the SSH session. So we did install actually the certificate inside the conf certs here. So this is the new certificate. So what will happen if the certificate does not exist? So I will just move IDP to the root, and now like certificate does not exist, and we don't even need to restart the front end. If I go back here and click on this nice URL, click, then it states IDP cert or fingerprint not found and required. Let's go back here. If I move back the certificate from the root to this directory and go to this web page, click, and it immediately works. So what's the like what we have learned here is we don't need to restart any web servers or services while we are installing this IDP file. It's like recognized immediately. Let's try another test. Sign out what happens like if there is wrong permissions, and maybe like I think it currently works. If we check, like it currently works because others can read this file. What would happen if the file exists but others cannot read? So change mod others minus read and IDP, click, and if I see like others cannot read anymore, maybe it will break. I have not tested this before. Let's try, click. Yeah, it just cannot find at all. Let's put it back. Change mod others can read IDP. Going here, click, and it immediately works. Let's put wrong content inside. Maybe before we are doing that, let's do a backup and how about like extra white space? Echo IDP. Click, click, click. So there is a lot of white spaces in the file. And if I log out and try again, it still works. That's nice. But what about echo hello world? And so we will destroy the content of this certificate. Click, and going back to the front end, log out and click. And now what is this? Unable to extract public key. What a nightmare. Yeah, so that is the moral of the story. Before we end, let's put it back. Cat IDP and like this, and click, and it still continues to work. All right, yeah, that was the crash test. Again, like if you find this video useful, give it a thumbs up, and see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.